The Go Radio Football Show with Scottish Gas. Watch live at 5 p.m. weekdays on YouTube. Join the conversation on 0808 17 17 700. Talking Scottish football first.
Thanks for making the switch every night from 5, the Go Radio Football Show with Scottish Gas. And tonight doesn't get much better than Andy Walker and Mark Guidi. Welcome, guys.
Always a pleasure, Paul.
How's the injury? It's not an injury, the new knee.
My knee surgery in the summer. It's gone well, and I'm just building it up a wee bit of strength every passing day. I was so interested to hear about Chermiti's very unfortunate injury. And I feel for anyone who's suffered that injury. It happened to me 30 odd years ago, Paul, and it's just the restriction of movement. It's the lack of strength in your muscle. It's the thought of possibly not getting back, because I think there is a threat that it might be career-ending, but here's hoping he recovers well.
Mark, that is the top story tonight. Obviously, the bad news that Rangers, nobody wanted Chermiti, of course, got that injury. Didn't look too much in it, but the big offer for him just before the game, Rangers say no to the 22 million, and he's now got a serious injury.
Yeah, you feel for him, Paul. There's no doubt, as Andy said, first and foremost, you've got to think about the welfare of the player, his own career, the young guys getting to grips with life after a lot of negativity, considering Rangers paid around about 9 million for him last summer. And one or two things, he was either getting a big move. I think there was a willingness there from Rangers to sell, because they've got to be better at business and better at selling and picking the right moment. And I think Chermiti was going to go in this window. If he didn't go, Rangers didn't cash in, then Derek McInnes is left with a really good centre forward. So they've lost out whatever way they were going to deal with it. And I wonder now if Derek will want the hierarchy to go into the market for a number 9, or does he feel he has enough with Shankland, Nadiri and Majowski? I'm not so sure. They might need to go and dip into the market again.
Rangers fans, what do you think? You heard the chairman saying yesterday there's going to be another 3 to 5 players coming in before the end of the transfer window. And
you hear Derek talking about it all the time. After in every post-match interview, he talks about the need to get more players in. He's looking for more options. Obviously, it's been a very poor start to the season, already 5 points behind Celtic, but still a number of weeks left in the transfer window for both clubs to do a bit of business. I think it is going to be either or. I don't think you'll get any Hearts involvement this season for the title.
Another winger coming in, we spoke about it last night. Coeb Dias looks to be on his way from PSV. Rangers fans, what do you want to happen now? It's a cruel blow that Chermiti is going to be out for quite some time. The ACL injury, Andy had it. Look at Jota at Celtic. He's been out for a long time.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Very long time. I mean, I got back to play a game in about 10 months, but I didn't feel anywhere near the level of sharpness that I wanted to get back to for 12 months. And I know that Jota's been out for, 15, 16 months?
16 months.
I mean, everyone is different, of course. And I think the treatment now and the rehab now will have moved on since when I did it. But no doubt it's a very, very serious injury.
What about Celtic then? So top of the table, along with St Mirren, the surprise package. Okay, it's only 2 games so far. But Doctor Who, isn't it? Everyone's saying, how do we pronounce it? What a start for him. Andy, you were a great Celtic striker. What do you make of the big fella?
Just love his attitude. I know that it didn't go well for him in his debut at Parkhead against Dundee, the opening game of the season. But he was always in a good position to miss one or two. He was certainly in a position there to be on the end of some crosses, some loose balls. And I think that's what he'll get at Celtic. He will get crosses into the box. They've got a lot of players who, play with a bit of width. It looks as though they're going to sign another winger. Kieran Tierney has been absolutely outstanding in the first couple of games, the amount of balls he gets into the box. You only have to look at his numbers from last season to realise how much of an important player he is. So for any striker, and if he's going to be playing alongside maybe Duran in the coming weeks and months, that's all you want as a striker. Give me the chance. Give me some service in and around the box, and then it's up to the individual to try and impress.
Hassan, we're just waiting to hear, Mark, if he has signed. It looks as though the deal is on. The Egyptian, we saw him in the World Cup. Celtic fans much happier in the last few days.
Yeah, well, Martin O'Neill's made it clear he wanted quality over quantity. And that's what Celtic have been doing so far. Obviously, their deadline ahead of the last game, I think, is Thursday night. Paul, so it looks like they can get Hassan in. I think they're trying to get a goalkeeper in as well in the next couple of days. And anybody else that pops up, Andy's highlighted Kieran Tierney, but at the moment, the understudy to Kieran Tierney is either moving Liam Scales over to the left or they've played Colby Dorman over there. So they need to go and, sort the left-hand side of the pitch out as well. And ideally, they would like to do that for Thursday night too. But looking at Sunday's game, Casper Hu, outstanding. He's finishing, his hold-up play. Martin O'Neill loves a number 9 that can take the ball in and hold it up. He can do that. So can Duran. Duran can do that as well. He's back to goal. And you look at the way Celtic tactically have played. Martin O'Neill said they would tweak the style. You can see what they're doing. They're taking less risks in and around their own penalty box, and they're trying to get the ball up to the halfway line to centre forward as quickly as possible to bring others into play. So, Paul, I'm not just saying, who could score 30 goals this season comfortably with that kind of service? I love his personality. Andy will know as well, as much as Celtic won the double last season, a lot of the times it was really flat and it was difficult for the players, difficult for the management, supporters, a breakdown at the club between fans and the hierarchy. You can see clearly that guy, not only on the park but off the park, is giving them a lift day-to-day training with his personality, his ability. You look at Nygren, he hawing laughing with him. That's also important. Of course, it's about what you do on a Saturday afternoon, but the other things you bring to the table. That 11 million quid is going to be a serious bargain. A serious bargain.
Right, let's bring Michael on the line, a Celtic fan. Hi, Michael. Welcome.
Hi, guys. How are we?
Yeah,
Hi,
good.
Michael.
Thanks.
Hi,
How are
Michael.
you?
Yeah, all good. All good.
Good.
I just wanted to say to the guys tonight, Andy and Mark, I phoned about a year ago and said that Celtic under no circumstances should sell Daisen Maeda, and we stuck to our guns and we were able to keep a hold of Daisen Maeda for about for the rest of the year, and what a decision that proved to be eventually. But I just wanted to phone tonight and just kind of say about my thoughts on the transfer window so far for Celtic. I think it's probably right that we've lost probably was it 14 players? Was the turnover for the exits for the squad? Players that weren't really having an impact on the squad, if you like. Bernardo being one of them, and obviously a couple of the Japanese boys. So we've trimmed the squad, and it probably looks like we're going to use the sort of Scottish base as the sort of backup, if you like. But I think it really leaves us short in the goalkeeping department right now. I think we're missing a goalkeeper. We're one injury or red card away from starting Ross Duran in the Champions League qualifiers, and if it's long term, if we don't get our finger out and have somebody competing with Sinisalo.
On that one, Michael, Mark, you said a few moments ago, they are looking, Nick Pope was mentioned yesterday, whether or not he's the right person now. 34, which I know is not that old. It worked with Joe Hart coming in, it worked with Casper Schmeichel, but they are looking for a keeper.
Yeah, they are. They want to get one in the door for Thursday night. Paul, as Michael said, they need somebody proper to go and challenge Sinisalo. Something like a Nick Pope on a year's loan or something. I think that's the kind of market that they would rather go into rather than doing what they've been doing the past couple of weeks, spend £6, £7, £8 million. So we'll wait and see what Celtic do. I think Nick Pope, his attendance record over the past couple of years would be a bit of a concern. But in terms of ability, I think he's an outstanding goalkeeper. I really do. And if Celtic could pull off, I wonder if the package just might be a wee bit rich. Also, I thought today, Newcastle potentially in the market for a right back. So you wonder, does Alistair Johnson come onto Newcastle's radar? However, in terms of Nick Pope's ability, if Celtic could pull that off, I think it would be a brilliant bit of business, but I don't think it will happen.
Andy, what do you feel? You saw Nick Pope many times in England.
Yeah, I like him. I really like him. I like his big game personality. I think Michael's right. I think Celtic need a big personality as a goalkeeper. It's what they're used to. It's what they have had. I know that sometimes Celtic can be accused of being a business rather than a football club. And if you can sell Engels, if you can sell Alistair Johnson, it's great money you're getting in. But I am a bit concerned that there's not been as much of a rebuild of the team. Michael's already highlighted it there, 14 out. There's just a lot of options that I'm sure Martin O'Neill would like to have in a good number of positions. And hopefully with a couple of weeks still to go, Celtic will still be active in the transfer market and really try and make a splash in Europe. The preparation for what I've always considered to be the biggest games of the season, the Champions League qualifiers, you hope they can get big players in to get Celtic into the, playing against the cream of Europe again. That's what all the fans want.
Michael, where else are you thinking? Midfield?
Well, so just quickly on
sure.
on that goalkeeper situation, if you don't mind. So basically, I wouldn't mind Celtic going down the same route as they did 2 years ago when they signed Sinisalo. Go and find a young goalkeeper who's coming through, who's not quite made the grade yet at a Premier League or a quality team, and bring him in to challenge Sinisalo, because I don't think Sinisalo's done much wrong. I think he's still going to improve as a goalkeeper, and I don't have a problem with Celtic having Sinisalo as the number one goalkeeper. So if Celtic decide to go down that route, because I think they paid £1.5–2 million for Sinisalo when they brought him in, I wouldn't mind that as a solution. But on other areas, obviously it's pretty good that we say that we're going to bring in Hassan. But I think we definitely need cover at left back, and we know obviously Greg Taylor's been linked, but I mean, I can't see Greg Taylor coming back. The reason why he left in the first place is because he knew that Kieran Tierney was going to play. So I don't see that being a viable option unless it's an absolute last minute.
Let's throw that to both guys. Andy, could you see Greg Taylor coming back?
I like him, and I think he would play often. Whether he's concerned that Kieran Tierney is maybe the undisputed number one, he's maybe right on that score. But, he's left Celtic now. He had a great time here in Glasgow, won a lot of trophies. It seems to me as though he just wanted to try something different. I'd be surprised if they got him back. But again, Michael is right to highlight the fact that you need some really good backup in that area. Kieran Tierney's been excellent, but we know he's had some injury problems, and you wouldn't want him to play every single game. At times, he would need a rest, and you want to replace that quality with a bit more quality.
Mark?
I think Greg Taylor's wants to come home, as in back to the UK. I think if he could come back to Celtic, he'd be interested. I think there's a bit of interest from Celtic. I don't really think he's get many concrete offers on the table. So right now he's there for the taking, if you like, and I wouldn't have a problem with it at all. I just think what Celtic need to do, Paul, because the market's really been open for a month now. Celtic have been back training 6 weeks. Martin O'Neill wanted more in the door. You need to just start ticking off your problems, ticking off your to-do list. Yeah. And if Greg Taylor's going to tick off that left-back to-do list, get it done. Why wait? Just go and get it done. And that's one less headache, one less problem, and get it done the next 48 hours before the European deadline window closes.
Because the money that's spent...
I think that's huge as well, is this European deadline, as Mark said. I think it's absolutely huge. I think Celtic need to start pressing the buttons on these deals now. Like, we've been linked all summer with Mika Bauer. If that's who they want, and just go and get the deal done now. We're approaching that time where we need them to have a positive impact on the destination, how the season's going to run.
Good question. Mika Bauer has gone quiet the last few days. Any indication?
Yeah,
anybody?
him and a number of names, and I just think the time is of the essence now. The Champions League qualifiers are almost on your doorstep, so get the players in to be training with their teammates as early as possible. Give yourself the best possible chance just to create these understandings on the pitch that are just so crucial in every area of the field.
This is what Sean Maloney said about your new striker at the weekend after his first half hat-trick.
Yeah, I think look, we've seen him for months now, so you know the level of player he is and what he's done at his previous club and a really high level in the Champions League. So said before, it's the life of a striker. I think you're there, you score some, you miss some, and it was really good today. I think also, look, he scored a brilliant hat-trick, but he also a big part of his game was when Kilmarnock went man for man. He had to be that, he had to hold it, and it's something the boss is really, really strong on. So it made a big difference. So his all-round game was really good, Casper. I thought our creativity in the final third was as good as I've seen it in a little while. So yeah, they did fine. Yeah,
It was good to watch, wasn't it? The actual the football that Celtic played. Andy, when did you last see that? I thought it was maybe 2 seasons ago.
I think when your end product is as good as that, and I'm not just talking about the finishing, I'm talking about the actual crossing that's giving whoever it is, obviously it was who at the weekend, but giving them a real good chance to score. That end product was terrific. The football was really good. I think Sean Maloney is right to highlight that that part of any striker's game where you can just take a really good first touch, hold it for a second or two. It just allows your teammates to get up in support of you. And if you can hold it there and have a really secure first touch, at Celtic, you will always get people playing off you, maybe running beyond you, and that's what you want. You want a good number of options.
Mark, how many signings do you think Celtic will get in this week ahead of the European deadline? Games a week tomorrow, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see them selling Engels or Johnston this week, so that there's not a necessity there to go and replace that. Hassan, as you're saying, Paul, looks as if that's going to be done, and a goalkeeper. So Hassan's done. I think they really want a goalkeeper in for Thursday, and potentially if Greg Taylor's a viable option, and he should be, then go and get that done. Go and get that ticked off as well. Anything like that, I don't think there's a real emergency situation. But regardless of that, you should just be building anyway. Yeah. Because you want them in the building. You want to get training sessions. You want to build relationships. You want to build partnerships. You want their personality to come out. So, like I say, just be a wee bit more proactive. Don't be reactive. But Johnston and Engels as well, Paul, it's key what happens to them over the next couple of weeks. But I have to say, I know, who got all the headlines on Sunday, and rightly so. I thought once again, I spoke about him on Friday night in the show with Ian Barry. Yeah. I thought Callum McGregor was outstanding. Just that presence, that belief that he gives the team. Every time you see him, Andy, he just knits everything together. He's always there. He's always within 10 yards of the ball, and he always presents an option. When you see him, I think if you're a Celtic player or the staff or a supporter, the confidence it must give you seeing a Callum McGregor. And I think that's what Rangers are missing just now. Rangers are missing that badly. They've brought in 8 or 9 new players, they've spent a few quid, and they still don't have a proper leader in the team. And Callum McGregor gives you that in abundance.
It's a Barry Ferguson, isn't it, who always wanted the ball, but Callum McGregor played so well. Michael, before you go, Champions League, how important is it to you, European footballer? Is it enough to, win the league and the cup or whatever? What do you feel about Champions League?
No, it's massive. Just like on a basic level, you look for, Andy will tell you more than anybody, you look for moments in football, don't you? As a supporter, and obviously Andy's seen it as a player. You want moments, and the evolution of the squad, if you like, depends on your success in Europe. If Celtic qualify for the Champions League and are able to offer Alistair Johnston that little bit more to see you stay for another 2 years, then that's great, and he's happy, and he's getting weighed in. But if no, then they have to. As a business, isn't it? We have to balance the book somewhere along the lines, and sell him and let him go. And as I say, I right at the beginning of the call, I said about like when I called last year, holding on to Maeda was key for Celtic's success, and I it probably still echoes the same. If we can qualify for the Champions League and possibly get Alistair Johnston to sign for another 2 years, which might be, I know Mark's going to say it's going to be fanciful. It's going to be fanciful, but you know what? If we can make the right signings, improve the squad, you've seen how infectious Casper Hu has been. Then that feel good factor around the club, and people enjoy their lives.
Michael, you talk about moments, and you've actually given me some goosebumps, because Billy McNeill used to refer to moments as memories, and he would speak to a group of players. Part of your job is to give the supporters memories. You've got to be a great goalkeeper, a great defender, a creative player, in Granty's case, when you're, just playing in front of your back four, being such an important part of the team, a striker scoring goals, and he would call them memories, giving the supporters memories. Michael's referred to moments, and it's the same thing. It's what you want to give the supporters, because that's really who you're playing for.
That's a great wee nugget, Andy, isn't it? Yeah. Big Billy gave me a memory when he phoned the boss, Jimmy Gordon, to complain about me. Can you imagine it? Billy McNeil phones Clyde, says to Jimmy
That's a
Gordon,
different
the
memory,
Lord
aye.
Gordon, what are we doing with him? Get rid of him. No, he didn't say that. And then he was a cup of tea. Because the managers would call you over at times in those days. I remember Souness as well. Outrageous. But Big Billy, that was a magic moment. Yeah. Michael, thank you so much. Don't leave it a year before you call.
No,
Cheers,
I've been on before, but I just remembered calling, and the two guys were on before.
Yeah, you're talking a lot of sense, Michael. This will never catch on. Thanks so much for your call.
Cheers, guys. Have a
Cheers. Thank you. Klopp or Guardiola? It's quite a thing to put on to Derek McInnes yesterday at the AGM, wasn't it? When the chief exec, Jim Gillespie, was speaking about what kind of manager they wanted. There's so much chat about Rangers. They're so desperate to get it right. We're going to talk about that, and I want to hear from Rangers fans just after this.
The Go Radio Football Show with Scottish Gas.
Yeah, Billy McNeil didn't hold a grudge. You said that, and he didn't. He was brilliant then when I went. There was a bit of a tussle.
We had one or two fallouts,
No.
and first thing in the Monday morning, we'd have a cup of tea in his office, and thrash it out. I think he was really good that way. I always heard Tommy Burns talking about him that way. You know, you could get on his wrong side, but you know, he'd never hold it against you and you know, do daft things to players like some managers do.
Yeah, he was so they were brilliant. Souness called up one day as well, complaining about. I think it was actually. I watched what I say because he's still on the radio. But it's a cup of tea about it. You say, well, look, he's got a point of view. You've got a point of view. Alec Ferguson at one time. Yeah. Oh, if I was in Glasgow, I don't think I'd ever phone in the way him and Jimmy Sanderson, the late great Jimmy. I said, well, do you know what? Anyway, no. I better not. There's still private conversations, but the passion, Mark, as you know, in this city, in this part of the world, nothing like it.
No, you've got to win. You've got to win to keep your supporters happy. You know, it's got to be substance over style.
Yep.
As Derek McInnes says, it's very, very unusual for both sides of the city to be happy. Paul, right now, Martin O'Neill, the Celtic team, they're great, and yet when you consider 3-4 weeks ago, there's a bit of panic because of the lack of signings, the lack of investment. By the way, still a lot of work to be done. The Celtic hierarchy can't rest on their laurels. A lot of work to be done. But at the moment, there was a feel-good factor about Rangers this summer because we were getting 7, 8, 9 bodies in, spending a couple of quid, new manager, looking for the new manager bounce. But so far, 3 competitive games, and it's not been good enough. Still without a victory. Massive game on Thursday night at home to Jager from Poland, and you know, Rangers 2-1 down. They really need to go through. You can tell, Paul, already the Rangers supporters are restless. They want to see an improvement.
I must say, Paul, I thought it was a strange thing for Jim Gillespie to say, talking about a Pep Guardiola or a Jurgen Klopp type manager. I think at this stage with Rangers, you just want to describe anyone as a winning manager. That's what we want. And, you know, last season, in fairness to Derek, he won a lot of games for Hearts, and he's got an enormous background in Scottish football. Comparing anyone to Klopp and Guardiola, it doesn't do that individual any favours, I don't think.
And it follows you then, doesn't it? Listen, this was Derek at full time. Not many people thought Rangers were going to lose that game. You know, they were a goal down. We know about the penalty. I mean, those are the way it's going to be interpreted. I get it. Rangers not happy with it. They've asked for an explanation from the SFA. But there was 78 minutes to go in the game. Then they get the equaliser late in the game. But I think you'd think if there's going to be another goal, it would have been for Rangers. And it wasn't to be. Derek really, really frustrated at the end.
And what we get is loads of frustration. Nobody's as frustrated as I am, but it's my job to keep calm with the players. If they keep giving us that, what they gave us the last part of the game, we'll be fine. But we're still trying to get players up to speed. Some players come in different stages. We're still trying to get some new signings up to speed. We're still trying to get some new signings in the building. But we've got to try and do all that by still winning games at the same time. And today's a game where I would argue that we should have won and certainly shouldn't have lost.
Mark, what do you make of it? The comments then about Jurgen Klopp. He's a Jurgen Klopp type of manager rather than a Pep Guardiola. What did you feel?
Yeah, it just doesn't do a manager any favours, Paul, particularly when you're not winning games, you know. And Jim Gillespie, like Andy, I think he should be more experienced in that. The guidance he should be getting behind the scenes. There is no need to mention Jurgen Klopp or Pep Guardiola. Absolutely no need. But it can come back to, you're talking about the late great Billy McNeill. Billy McNeill made that quote about Stevie Fulton about Roberto Baggio.
Yeah.
Didn't he do Fulton any favours, did it?
Yeah.
I mean, his career never, you know, he still went on to have a really good career, but that quote was never allowed
because he wasn't Baggio.
To be forgotten. Yeah, so you don't, you know, and Jim Gillespie should be experienced. I do think that Derek should have been at the AGM yesterday.
Why?
Well, he's the manager of Rangers. He's a focal point of the club. And I know it's your chance as a shareholder to go and speak to the hierarchy, but you want to see your manager there front and centre. You want them to be there. And I think probably now Derek will regret not going along. But certainly Jim Gillespie is the CEO. He's not done his manager any favours with that comment.
Because Derek has got his own body of work. That's the thing, isn't it? He's done really, really well. Look what happened last season at Hearts. Fraction of the budget compared to Rangers and Celtic. And they led most of the season.
Yeah.
So I think it was not. Was it naive? Is that the? I don't know.
I don't know. Look, he'll have his reason. No, you know, he's prepping for Thursday, but you know, the day after the game, as in yesterday, it's mainly a recovery day. And I know he'll want to be on the grass and he'll be working on a couple of things with his staff, but still, I just think he should have been there. You know, you want to go along, you want to gauge the temperature, you want to make sure, because the hierarchy aren't as good as Derek in terms of dealing with the media. Yeah. He is a man who's dealt with them now. He's been a manager for 17, 18 years every week, and he's very good at it. Sure. So he should have been there just to make sure everything was order, everything was in check, and nothing like that Klopp comment happened. Or if it did, he could have laughed off quickly or whatever. So no, I think he'll regret not turning up yesterday.
And the biggest cheer, or one of the biggest cheers, apparently came when it was mentioned that they were complaining. Well, they were asking the SFA, what happened yesterday? So you can imagine that played to the crowd quite rightly. They're like, whoa, that's good to see.
I don't understand it. What are you looking for? I think in my experience, every season, there's little tweaks to the laws of the game. There's little things that referees might be looking at or clamping down on. They might show you an example, a bit of footage, and they would say to the managers, the players, the captains, do you think this is a foul? Do you want a foul for this? Do you want us to give a foul for this, like every time or most of the time? And the fact that this incident here at the weekend was highlighted in a pre-season meeting, I don't know what more clarification you want. A player who is not looking at the ball runs into an opponent and grabbing his jersey. I mean, I think you can see it as a foul, but if it is something you're going to clamp down on, then it's a foul. It's a foul all the time.
I think as well, there's clearly that it's come into the rules, as Andy says, in the summer, because three officials wouldn't get that wrong. You've got your VAR, your assistant VAR, and then you've got your match referee. So one of the VAR has highlighted that. Yep. Clearly, the other VAR has agreed, and then they've asked the referee to come and take a look. And then Don Robertson's gone over and agreed with them. So there's three officials. Now, you can understand why, because it's new, it's the first time they've been penalised, first club to be penalised for it this season. But the explanation is very simple. It's not allowed anymore. Yeah. That's why it's a penalty. That's the explanation. It's not an explanation that Rangers want, but three officials have agreed. When I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, that's really soft. Yeah. If that was given against me, I would be absolutely raging. But I take it now, and I've not had the benefit of seeing the rules again. I've not had the benefit of being in those meetings that Andy's talking about, that Willie Collum will head up. But I take it must be now part of the rules of the game.
Tuesday night, the Go Radio Football Show with Scottish Gas. Shall we go back on the lines? Josh is on. Hi, Josh. Good evening.
All right, Paul. How's it going, mate? All right.
Yeah, we're in good form. So is Mark Guidi and Andy Walker as well.
Hi, Josh.
All right, boys. Listen, couple of points I've got here, particularly about Hearts. So you've got Derek McInnes, you've got Eva Olid, both being awarded for the exceptional jobs that they did at Hearts last season in particular. You know, Eva was able to win the title, Derek just fell short. But, you know, the building blocks and the progress that was made there has led them to the big jobs like Rangers and Manchester United, two massive establishments. You know, thoroughly deserving of that promotion, so to speak. But you know, a massive level of expectation, like, you know, immense scrutiny right from the start. Mark, as a journalist, you'll know this. Like, you know, the pressure cooker starts right from day one. The press don't allow you that settling in period. Derek's got 0 from 3 in the wins column, so that builds the pressure. But I've rationalised it by saying, you know, patience is needed. You know, Rangers keep swapping manager every 5 minutes in the men's game. You know, no one's been given time to get their feet under the table. So it's just rinse, repeat. We had it at my team, Everton, a few years ago. It was that washing machine of managers, so there was no consistency, nothing was getting built. But, you know, I also understand that immense expectation from the fan base. So, you know, I'll probably get pelters for saying that from the Rangers fans. But Mark and Andy, what's your thoughts on it? The whole thing about the pressure.
Yeah, there is pressure. So you've just got to win when you manage Celtic or Rangers. You've just got to win. You know, I do believe that Derek McInnes is the right man for the job. I championed him in the station many times, saying if Rangers do decide to move Danny Rule on, and it was right that they did, and they get they did well to get compensation for him as well. Then the obvious candidate was Derek, because he's got a fantastic body of work, in my opinion, and he deserved a crack at being the Rangers manager, albeit he turned it down at least twice, if not 3 times, in the past. So yeah, there's got to be patience. But the Rangers fans are out of patience because there's a succession of managers. But what there maybe needs to be a change of cycle. It's unlikely it's going to happen, but a change of cycle, as Derek highlighted on Sunday post-match. This club has been suffering. This club hasn't been successful for 15 years. 1 title in 15 years. 3 trophies in 15 years. Or whatever it may be. So it's not the Rangers of 25 years ago of Dick Advocaat, 35 years ago of Walter Smith, 40 years ago of Graham Souness. It's not. A lot of Rangers fans will live in that past glory, and I get it. But At some point, you need to stick with someone, and I think Derek's the right man to go and stick with. It was unfortunate for him in terms of Hearts that he came up against an outstanding operator in Martin O'Neill, who led Celtic to that incredible closing stages of the season, and he's now up against Martin O'Neill again, only this time as manager of Rangers. But there does need to be patience, as he said there in the clip that Paul played. They're still getting bodies in the door, they're still getting up to speed, they're still building relationships and partnerships. But I think one thing that Derek needs to do very, very quickly is, as best he can, get a settled 11 and start building relationships. I know he wants 2 or 3 in the door, but like I said, there's been 8 or 9 arrivals, and recruitment need to take a look at themselves as well. For me, Paul, they still do not have an out-and-out leader. And that's incredible when you look at the money Rangers have spent in the past 18 months and the amount of players that they've signed. To not have a proper guy in the middle of the park, it's quite incredible.
I think it's a worry for any manager at Rangers. If you're not winning the title, look at Clement, look at Russell Martin, look at Danny Rowe. It is quite American. Okay, we'll give you a year. You can't do it? Okay, next. And you could argue all of those managers could have had a wee bit more time. Is this what Rangers are all about? You get a year to go at it. Rangers have started badly. They're already under a lot of pressure. I agree with Mark, and when you look at the makeup of the starting 11, never mind the squad, just not enough leaders in so many areas of the pitch. But then you look at what happens off it, and there just seems to be a lack of patience. If you can't win the league in your first year, you just seem to be out the door.
This was his message to the Rangers fans after the result with Hibs.
No, listen, I'm not asking for more time. I'm asking, I understand the frustration. I share the frustration. It's 15 years of frustration here at this club, right? Nobody knows that more than me. One title win, the fans didn't even get to see the title win. So we're a byproduct. Every Rangers team is a byproduct of that frustration. So the Rangers fans just want to see their team winning, and so they are. And we will get there. It's not been the start that we wanted, but we will get the outcome that we're going to get. And we have to work hard and stick together in the dressing room. But do I expect it to be any different than what we got today? No, until we start winning. So I'm fine with that. I'm not going to ask the fans for more patience, because I think the Rangers fans have been patient enough. So it's up to us to give them a winning team more often than not, and we will get there. We could do with some help, and we're working hard to try and get some bodies in, and we could do with a wee bit more luck than we got today, certainly. But it's not been the start we wanted, but we still intend to have the same outcome.
And he'll want to know what his best team is. I mean, the days have known your 11, but I mean, at Hearts, it was quite a tight group, wasn't it, Mark? That
yeah,
he got.
He had a tighter squad. Well, yeah. I know it's about 16, 17 players in terms of the 5 substitutions, Paul. At every club, you know, you want to make. You only need to look at the substitutions Martin O'Neill made in the last day of the season to beat Hearts. Yeah. So bringing on Sirachi, bringing on Iheanacho. So, you know, we get that. But just at the moment, I know it's still early, but very quickly, even if it's just one part, who's your 2 best centre halves? Who am I going with? Who am I want as my right back, my right winger? Am I going with a front 2? Am I going with a 10 and a 9? Go and start building these partnerships really, really quickly. But he's put pressure on himself there, Derek, with that comment. We will get the outcome we want. Well, the outcome we want is winning the title. Now, if you don't win it this year, what do Rangers do? Albeit it was a different hierarchy, but they gave Steven Gerrard 3 years to deliver a title. I think you've got to do the same with Derek McKinnon. If it doesn't happen in year one, get as long as you're in touching distance, Paul, as long as you're making a competition out of it. You know, Celtic end up 12, 15 points ahead. That's a different story. But you need to be competitive, and Derek needs to start doing that, and it needs to start on Thursday night.
Josh, you mentioned Eva Olid. What a time for her. Doing so well, and then gets the Man United job just announced last week. So you don't see that too often, do you?
100% not. I mean, you know, the achievements in the Scottish Women's Premier League, by contrast to, say, the WSL or the La Liga, you know, they get kind of looked down upon a lot of the time. But I think the story with Hearts about, you know, Eva took them from the division below to the top tier and built it, you know, actually built that team spirit and the chemistry. She added some flair and gloss on top, and then the actual coaching ability was second to none, because even going into the split last year, not many people had given them a chance of actually winning the title. But you know, it was that momentum that was garnered, the spirit. Teams hated coming up against their Hearts team, and you know, and obviously it's been noted by a massive club like Manchester United, who wasted no time in replacing Mark Skinner with somebody of that quality. They took a little bit of a gamble, because you know, can that can the experience and the skill set be transferred to higher up? In my opinion, it's a massive step up from the SWPL to the English Women's Super League. But why not? Why not give these managers the opportunity that I feel is merited off the back of, that's a sensational achievement for Hearts that last season, because look at the established trio of Glasgow City, Celtic and Rangers, the finance they've put into it, the years upon years of winning trophies and building a bit of a dynasty.
Oh, it's unheard of. Yeah, Josh, you're absolutely right. But obviously, as Radio Glasgow here, we want the Glasgow teams to do well. No harm to the Herts, but you're right. Eva, what a story with her. Who's going to win the women's title this season, Josh? Who do you reckon?
I think it'll be the air of distribution for Glasgow City, Paul, to be honest with you.
Right,
I think,
okay.
They fell short by their high standards last season.
Yep.
And they showed in the last game against Rangers. They beat them about 6-0 or 5-0 in the last game, and Rangers were the ones going for the title.
I remember.
So that's a massive marker in the ground for them. They won't be getting taken lightly. And I just want to say as well, I watched Leanne Crichton's Rangers in European action the other night. Hugely unfortunate not to go through or to win the tie.
Right at the end,
Yeah, they lost on a late penalty, but I was impressed with the resilience and the fortitude that they showed. They scored off a corner. It was a brilliant delivery from Nicola Doherty, of course. Caused the goalkeepers coming to a bit of no man's land, and they got the equaliser, but then just couldn't hang on to get through to extra time. But against a powerhouse like Ajax, with Katja Snoit leading the line, a former Everton striker that have...
You've got Everton in there as well. I'll tell you what, Josh, you know your stuff. I think we should appoint you officially as our women's football correspondent. I bumped into Leanne on the way back from Miami, because she used to come on this programme, so she still listens. The family listening, the Rangers head coach, the Rangers manager.
She giving us pillars.
She was great. She gave us such a warm welcome, So, Josh, thank you so much. Loads of calls coming in. You know the number, 0808 17 17 700.
The Go Radio Football Show with Scottish Gas.
When's Rob McLean coming back? That's what Mark and Andy are saying. During the traffic, I went on a mazy run about schools going back. Yep, a lot of the schools back. Caroline back at her school there today in sunny Blantyre. Good luck.
Yeah.
And they're all heading back
Yeah,
to school.
They're all back.
It's so quick though, isn't it? The summer break. Or
I know,
Yeah.
6 weeks isn't long enough.
A few Rangers fans coming on as well said, look, they're not going to give up the faith, Rangers, but they need to win this game on Thursday night. It's absolutely crucial because it does become a crisis then if Rangers went to win. Andy, you would expect them, I imagine. I'm not trying to lead you, but
Yeah, I think on the back of their second half performance, when you and I watched the game with Charlie last week, and we thought Rangers got away with one in the first 45 minutes because Jagger certainly created a lot of chances. But I think that introduction of Devlin and certainly Finlay Curtis, when he came on, I think when you've got that end product, he was the one getting to the byline. He was the one getting some really decent crosses into the box, and he got his chance at the weekend. Not quite able to build on it, but he's hoping he can get a sustained run.
Celtic were in top form with a big win, 5-1 at Kilmarnock. On the line is Kevin, a Celtic fan. Hi, Kevin. Hello, Kevin.
Good news about Hassan coming in. Just
Yep.
see, Hassan, I just want to wish the boy Chermiti a speedy recovery. I know I'm a Celtic fan, but that's a horrible injury, that ACL. I mean, obviously we've just thrown the Jota, and I hope the boy's career isn't over, man. That would be a shame. But the guy's got a family and bills to pay, stuff like that, like everybody else. So I hope he's all right.
You're absolutely right, Kevin. Yeah, good shout there for Chermiti out with an ACL. So, what about Celtic? What are you thinking now? You're Hassan on his way in, just waiting for their final confirmation. The Egyptian winger. Who's next for you?
Excited, man. I know that the guy's numbers might not make amazing reading, but just going on his overall his performances in games, and then just going on his performances in the World Cup. I mean, he tore Argentina to ribbons at times. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. So, really looking forward to him. So, credit to the board to get the deals out of the line. I'm loving our front three now as it is. Never mind adding Hassan in there. I know it's a long time away, but hopefully maybe by the end of the year you'll have Jota maybe back with a couple of games under his belt, and hopefully so things are looking really good. But I still think that we really do need to spend a good bit of money on a central midfielder. Somebody in the Callum McGregor ilk, because we don't really have, when Callum's not the team or when he's off form, it stands out like a sore thumb. I think we need somebody in. I know that the boy Mika Bauer looked like a good player, but played the bomb, unfortunately. We're playing a bit hardball there, but I really think we need a centre mid, and I'm not sure what Andy and Mark think.
Okay.
I think the beauty, Kevin, of when you go to Kilmarnock, who had a decent home record under Neil McCann towards the end of last season, I think the beauty of scoring 5 goals and looking as though you might have scored 6, 7 or 8, your next opponent, they are so aware of how you are as an attacking club. The preparation for it is, we need to be strong defensively. You might bring someone else back. You might ask a midfield player to double up on a wide player. Your concentration is on a level of defending. So when Celtic play like that, and they're nowhere near it in the first game of the season at home to Dundee, but when they play like that, I think they send a real warning to the rest of their opponents that they are capable of a lot of good attacking play, a lot of good options, and the fact that they want to add to those options, Kevin, I think that can only be a good thing.
Mark?
Yeah, and also going back to Tannadice on Saturday night, Paul, as Andy's saying, their next game it's the League Cup. Celtic lost twice at Tannadice last season, once under Wilfred Nancy, once under Martin O'Neill. I think it was only lost one in about 15 games under it, and that was it. And it was a horrible performance as well. And Celtic, never lost a game after that. Went on that incredible run. Dundee United in the back of conceding 4 after Hearts after a really good performance against Rangers in the opening night of the season. So it makes for a cracking game. The one thing that Martin O'Neill wanted to do during the summer when he accepted the job was go and add a proper goal threat and real pace to the team, and I think Hassan brings that extra pace. Who is no slouch. Duran's got a bit about him. Young Osmond has got terrific pace as well coming off the bench. So when you look at it, they've added up top, which they badly needed to do, because last season, more often than not, they just struggled to, when they were winning, they were more often than not just getting by. The backbone of the team was fine, but they played huge chunks of the season without Carter Vickers and Alistair Johnson, their two best defenders. So when you look at all that, adding all that back in, there's no doubt that Celtic should be better than what they were last season. The performance on Sunday points in that direction, that they're going to be much better. But of course, it remains to be seen who they'll lose between now and the window closing. But real positive signs, and still plenty of money to spend if Celtic want to go out, and that's even without selling Ingles. There's still plenty of money there, or there should be, available to the manager if he wants to go and add another couple of real bits of quality. Bauer being one of them, as you've highlighted there, Kevin.
James is on. Stay with us, Kevin. James, a Celtic fan, saying Mika Bauer, 22-year-old. Apparently it's about 7 million they're looking for at Paderborn. Isn't that worth it if he's going to be such a central figure in the Celtic team at 22?
I don't think anyone doubts his ability, but transfers, negotiations, they can be really tricky. I mean, you want to get them done. Ideally, Celtic, knowing that they have the biggest games of the season, we keep saying it, the Champions League qualifiers, you want to give your manager and your coaches the best chance of getting involved in the, against Europe's elite, the cream of Europe coming to Glasgow. And you would have thought the rebuild, the preparation for this qualifier, you just thought it would have been a bit quicker, a bit better.
I'm just going to say, you're talking about that midfield area, Paul Bauer, and I don't know Bauer's value. Celtic might think there's a ceiling of 5, 6 out. All I would say is, if he's a guy you really want, you've done a lot of homework on it, when the boy wants to come, then you've just get rid of Bernardo, so there'll be a long fee in for him, and he's off the wage bill. Hitate's surplus to the requirement. You get 2.5 million or something for Hitate, he's off the wage bill. So essentially your outlay only becomes 2 or 3 million quid in a midfield that you want. So why not go and do it? It's
absolutely
what we're thinking as well. And with Engels, Paul, you either sell him now or you fatten him up. He's got 2 years to go. So Celtic believe they'll get 25 million for him, or that's the valuation that they've put on him. If you hang on to him and you don't fatten him up, this time next year, you might get your money back on him, because he's only got a year to go. So his value halves, at least. So either he's a guy that Michael was saying yesterday, earlier on, about Alistair Johnson, not Engels is a guy, he's a priority that you deal with. So give him a new deal, fatten him up, and tell him to stay a year and they can go, or sell him now. Don't get caught in between.
Kevin, final thought. What do you feel?
I agree with it.
Yep.
As usual, I really disagree with Mark Guidi, so I agree with everything he says there. This is the frustrating thing with Celtic, is they do things back to front. So Celtic will sit and demand 25 million for Engels, but they'll try and undercut another team's players. So if I paid them on 7 million, give them the 7 million, because you've got to get the money back, as Mark says. Just one final point, just for you to discuss when I'm away, or a question. If Celtic and Rangers both win all their next 5 league games, and Celtic then beat Rangers in their first or third game of the season, go 8 points in front, is the league finished?
That's for after the news. Well, that would be the case. We did say last night, we didn't say the league would be over, but we did point that out with Barry and with Charlie last night. Could be 8 points in it. That's a big if. Of course it is. But if they win all the way, Andy, I'm going to get your answer after the news, because that's what's coming up next. Loads of calls come in. Thanks, Kevin. Drive safely. 0808 17 17 700.
The Go Radio Football Show with Scottish Gas. Watch live at 5 p.m. weekdays on YouTube. Join the conversation on 0808 17 17 700. Talking Scottish football first.
We sure are, and we're building up to Thursday night. Jagiellonia will be in town. They fly in tomorrow ahead of the game with Rangers Thursday night. 2-1 from the first leg last week. Andy and I were on with Charlie McGrew. We were a watch along here.
Yeah.
And Rangers started well with the early goal, but it wasn't to be, and it could have been worse. They had a good chance just after that, Andy. If spots and maybes. Has he been a bit unlucky as well? Billy's on, a Rangers fan, saying, look, stay calm. They haven't got a bounce of the ball in any direction so far in the first 3 games.
Well, arguably they could have been out of sight in the opening 45 minutes, so maybe they got a bit of luck that Jaga didn't score more heavily. But the tie is very much in the balance. Rangers at home. You heard Derek McInnes in his post-match interview. He spoke about the backing that his players would get at Ibrox in the second leg. There's no doubt Rangers are capable of scoring a couple of goals. My question is, are Rangers capable of keeping a clean sheet?
Mark, you're always great with the stats. You heard Kevin just before the news saying, guys, and it is something we mentioned last night, right? If Rangers win all the games, league games, and Celtic win all the league games, when they meet on the 20th September,
Celtic Park.
If Celtic win, they would go 8 points clear. Kevin's question to you two is, if that's the case, would the league be over?
No, it wouldn't be. No, there's 114 points to play for. We're only 6 in, so there's 108 points to play for. I think Celtic won the league with 82 last season. I think you'll need to get 92 minimum will be, and Celtic will be the team to catch. So certainly, even going to Celtic, Paul, regardless of how results are, and obviously now because of Rangers dropping 5 points out of 6 in their opening 2 games, they really can't lose at Celtic Park. It's a game where, and as we've always said, and Derek will know, you look at Derek's body of work last season at Hearts, he only lost 1 game to Celtic. He went to Celtic Park and won. He went to Ibrox and won, beat them at Tynecastle, beat Celtic at Tynecastle, beat Rangers at Tynecastle. So you know if you're going to become champions, you've got to beat the champions. So that's Derek's aim. Certainly, there's 12 points up for grabs against Celtic. You've got to be looking to take a minimum of 7 out of those 12. You know, maybe even 8 out the 12 to go and topple the champions. So he'll know all that. As we said, you know, Derek's not a rookie. He's had a tough couple of weeks. You know, you can hear it in his voice. You can feel it when you're watching him, and the touchline as well. It's been, results-wise, it's been a horrendous start. Performance-wise, I agree with him to a point. He would have been a wee bit unlucky. But let us say very, very quickly that he'll know it. He'll need to start finding his best 11 and getting as close to that. And you'll need to be ruthless. If boys aren't showing it, if they're not up to it, you need to just discard them and go with guys that you feel aren't going to let you down. He's not got the finished squad that he wants. We'll see what that is come September the 3rd. But dealing with the here and now, he has to just go with, as Gordon Strachan used to say when he was manager of Celtic 20 years ago, certain games, you pick a team to save your life. Not necessarily the best players, but those ones with the best characters that are going to get wired in. And I think that's just the stage it's Derek's at for Thursday night in front of 50,000 Rangers fans. Andy, what's your answer to Kevin's question?
The league wouldn't be over, but all I would say is, would Celtic throw away an 8-point lead? I mean, at times last season, well, the vast majority of last season, Hearts had a good lead over both Celtic and Rangers. Slowly but surely, it was reeled in. They didn't know how to make use of a good cushion. Celtic do; they've done it before, and I wouldn't say it's over by any means, but you would be hard pushed to see a Celtic side give up an 8-point lead.
Let's take a call from Ian, a Rangers fan, is on the line. Hi, Ian. Good evening.
Hi there.
Hi, Ian.
Hi, Ian. On the menu now for 442.
Ian, it's a terrible line. Are you actually on a speaker? Could you? I don't know. It just sounds.
Yeah, I'll go to normal.
Could you? That'd be great. I think it'll be
any better.
Oh yeah, definitely. Hi, Ian.
Yeah. I know 442 is not on the menu nowadays, but having one striker up front a long 9, 10 defenders is not a good idea. How far be it for me to tell any manager, I hardly know anything about the game, but at the same time, if you've got 2 strikers up front, especially the Celtic game is so crucial. The only good thing about the Celtic game this time is by then we may have a wee bit more people working together, players finding their feet and more in. But the other thing is also it's a more open game. They're both attacking. So that's a very, very crucial game.
Yeah. Andy, what about 2 up front, or Mark, who wants to go first of all?
Well, I looked at Rangers at the weekend, whether they were a partnership or whether it was one up and one off, but you saw it from the outset, Chermiti and Shankland. They also had other forward thinking players, Yukata, Finlay Curtis, your wide players. And Rangers looked good for some spells, but they gave away a silly goal because of a penalty, a stupid decision by what should have been a more experienced decision maker, that defender. And Hibs, I think, raised their game, and they realised that maybe Rangers are, a bit fragile at home, because if you can turn that support against the home side, I think sometimes that happens. Some of the Rangers players can go into their shell, and that's why we constantly talk about Rangers and leaders and, people who can get a wee bit more, people on the park who can recognise a problem and get a wee bit more out of their teammates. It doesn't always have to, come from the bench. So I think there is room for the 4-4-2 that Ian was talking about there.
Mark, what do you think? Obviously, we know Chermiti's going to be out for some time, and ACL, that's the news today, the bad news.
Really sad for him,
isn't it?
Yeah, it is, for him as a player, really, really sad. And, Rangers obviously wish him all the best, but, it could be Rangers might have been set to get more than 20 million quid from him, so it's a business as well. And he's a loss to the team, but most importantly, just hopes he keeps his head down and get the best of care, the best of encouragement to make a comeback, and hopefully he can come back as quickly and as safely as possible. On his point, front 2, I always like a front 2. Chermiti and Shankland, I think there've been a lot of potential there, Paul, but Shankland, I don't know, I think that's why Derek, he'll be asking the recruitment staff, go and find me a 9 or go and find me something, go and give me options, because there's no doubt Shankland's capable of scoring 20 plus goals this season. I don't have any doubt about that at all.
Nadiri,
but Madiri and Miovski, kind of hot and cold. Paul, you want somebody to hang your hat on if you can. They don't come cheaply. They don't, as we all know, Andy, number 9 don't grow. They don't grow on trees anymore. But that's where your recruitment staff have got to go and earn their money and provide options.
What's happened about Nadiri though? There was such a fanfare last season when he came in, but he's not been that impressive. We've not seen that much of him. You'd be surprised.
Give me a headline goal, and you can't. Give me a regular goal scorer. You can't. You might talk about the service. I think Rangers are pretty decent in attack. I think they've got a number of options. Losing Chermiti will be a big problem. Puts a wee bit more pressure now on Lauren Shankland, who's also the captain. He's taken on that responsibility. There's now a bit more responsibility to take a bit of the extra workload and be the recognised goal scorer. Be the guy that can tap it in from a one touch from a cross that's flashing across the goal. He's capable of that. He's also capable of scoring the outstanding goal, left foot or right foot, from the edge of the box. So it'll be interesting to see what Rangers do now in an attacking sense, because when you think of Chermiti at his best last season against Celtic, the goals that he scored, my goodness, absolutely outstanding. And they've lost that. So they need to try and find a way to replace it.
And what's happened with Miovski a few years ago at Aberdeen? He was one of the best strikers in the country.
Yeah, he was great, and Aberdeen got a wonderful fee for him, Paul. I think Girona paid £6 million for him, and then Rangers bought him back this time last year. I think around about £2.5 million, and I think we all thought, wow, that's a great piece of business. But it was just far too hot and cold.
It's a
heavier
jersey. It's a heavier jersey.
Yeah, you just couldn't hang your hat
cope.
on him. And Derek would have had the benefit now of looking at him over the last 5 or 6 weeks. And if you're not shining, if you're not showing something in training, it suggests, no, that's why I think there might not be anybody out there in terms of budgets, availability, somebody that can complement Shanklin, but the Rangers recruitment team, I would imagine, Paul, they'll be working very, very hard to provide options.
Rangers fans, and he included, are looking for positives, and the manager spoke about what he took in a positive sense from the game with Hibs.
I do think the positives from today, I think Big McCanny did really well for his first 90 minutes since the 29th of May. I think Daisuke is showing moments, and obviously we're still trying to bring in another wide right player as well if we can, to share that burden with him. But having a natural left-footed player on that side and somebody who wants to play there, I think will be key for us. So it is important that we try and make signings, but the club is working hard on that, and I think it's important that we come out the window as strong as we possibly can.
And we're just waiting to hear about the official signing of the 24-year-old, the Moroccan winger, Koeb Droesh. I believe that's how we pronounce it.
Yeah, I think one of the things Rangers need to get away from, and obviously, sometimes if you're picked up a yellow card in the first half, it might be difficult, but Rangers at Tannadice, Rangers in the away leg in Europe, Rangers at home at the weekend, massive changes at half-time. And it's not for picking the wrong team. It's circumstances have gone against you. You're forced into a big change. Rangers aren't controlling the game for long spells. Maybe they did in the second half and got their equaliser. I think everyone expected the late charge and maybe another Rangers goal, but hit on the sucker punch, maybe a bit of luck against them. But the amount of changes that they're making at half time, it's you don't want to be doing that. No. You want to be making more controlled substitutions, killing the game when need be, and being in control of the game most of all.
Ian, you've followed Rangers for a number of years. Are you confident it's going to come good?
Well, as long as they don't get another Duran, we'll be calling it Duran, and then they'll be singing all the way to the line. Yeah.
Listen, you never know. I mean, you hear Andrew Kavanagh saying yesterday, Jim Gillespie.
The open game at Celtic Park and at Ibrox, okay. I think that's where Rangers can pick up points.
Okay.
At the Parkhead game, Ian?
Just an open game, he feels.
An open game. The only thing is, Ian,
it's at home or away. I think we could have a more of a chance where there's not 10 defenders and trying to get through a melee or a 10 defenders.
That's right. They don't park the bus.
Wall.
Exactly.
Yeah. I know what you're saying. The game's at Celtic Park, but Ian,
thanks a lot anyway.
It's 40 days away, that game.
Yep.
It becomes redundant if you're not winning your other games, Paul. So you've got to go and deal with what's in front of you. Derek McInnes, Rangers supporters, Rangers staff, players will not be thinking about Celtic Park September the 20th. It's all about Thursday night. It's massive. Go and get a win, and that can just really go and trigger you on to go and do something. Yep. But I'm just, you were saying there, Paul, the last time Rangers had a leader, and Derek's highlighting, one title win in 15 years, etc. When you think about it, I've not really had anybody since Barry Ferguson and Steve Davis. They've had a lot of pretenders that have come up and haven't been able to crack it. Your Joey Bartons, your Todd Cantwells, although he was more. But since Rangers came back into the top league, which was the summer of 2016, so that's 10 years. Scott Brown's bossed them and Callum McGregor's bossed them in the middle of the park, the heart of the team. They need to, actually, the more I think about it, how important that is to Rangers and to Derek, who's a central midfielder. They need to go and find somebody. There's just been guys that just haven't basically been able to lace the boots of McGregor and Brown over the years.
Contrasting fortunes for the two managers, or the assistant manager in Celtic's case, after that 5-1 win at Kilmarnock, where, remember, they struggled the past couple of years. In fact, the League Cup, they went out a few years ago when Brendan Rodgers came back. That was the first domestic tournament he'd lost in Scotland. But anyway, so Sean Maloney spoke after the 5-1 win. And I don't know if we're hearing that.
Really try and stop Kilmarnock. And it was hard. Sometimes we didn't get it right when they built up. They had a lot inside, a lot of players inside. We didn't get it right all the time. But the mentality to go and press, run back, I thought the back four were brilliant, really, really good. Goalkeeper had to make a big save at 1-0, and then we just, we were really good in the final third. So, we set a bar now, and we have to sort of keep trying to get there.
And he spoke about Alistair Johnson coming off at half-time, the precaution.
Yeah, just a precaution, I hope. We'll find out in the next couple of days. So he was brilliant first half. So he just mentioned he felt something, and we didn't take any risks.
And overall, a short summary on the game?
Probably mentality. I think we started the game the exact opposite of how we did the Dundee home game. So and then we never really came off it. Yeah, they were really good today, the team.
Mentality. We kept hearing it last year about Rangers.
Yeah.
And the manager at the time was saying, no, it's not a problem. But it was a problem.
It was a problem. And it is a quality that you can look at a squad of players, a team, Celtic's mentality. What did Martin O'Neill refer to? Just the spirit of the team. And I think there's a real importance to that, because that never say die attitude, I think it can get you a lot of places when you're not at your best. You just refuse to accept defeat. And I think so many of the Celtic players, so many of the Celtic squad, they have a mentality that's maybe better than the rest.
What about for Rangers then? Who are they going to get? Is there anyone in the building just now? I don't think so, Mark, who can be pivotal in the midfield, do what Barry Ferguson did. Or I mean, I know Barry was a once in a generation type player, but you mentioned Steve Davis. Steve Davis was really good for a long time.
Yeah, he was outstanding, Paul. He drove the team on, heartbeat the team. Barry Ferguson before him, they played a spell together as well. But yeah, just you're looking, Dan Neil, Cammy Devlin, they've just sold Diamonde, Connor Barron, and Nico Raskin. I know he's, but you're thinking, no, in terms of that absolute leader, that presence that would just give you such comfort to know, Mike, he's in our team today. We've got a chance. He's in our team. The way somebody just knits it all together, an unselfish player. Rangers haven't had that for over 15 years. And yeah, that's what we're talking about, a number 9 potentially having to come in to replace Chermiti. I think Derek will be looking at being a central midfielder himself. Callum McGregor's, Barry Ferguson, Steve Davis, Scott Brown's, they don't grow on trees. But you've got to go and fit, you've got to go and do your bit to find one.
Is Lewis Ferguson going to be in that conversation? Sorry, his name came up earlier in the summer, Andy, at Lewis Ferguson.
Well, if it's Lewis Ferguson, if he's at it, I think he's an addition to any squad, certainly Rangers squad. And the only other thing I would add, and I know that a lot of Rangers fans were happy to see him go, Rangers no longer have the goal threat of James Tavernier. The crosses into the box, the goals that he scored, the free kicks, the penalties, the amount of times he got on the end of a cross from the opposite full back to score with a header. That's a big loss too.
Sure is. Good point. Here is Derek McKenna speaking then at the end of the game about what went right but what went wrong.
Disappointing result. Thought we were deserving a better. I didn't think we were brilliant, but I do think a lot of things transpired against us. I know people will say it's a lot worse than what it was, because the outcome isn't great, and we get that, we accept that. But in the cold light of day, if you analyse the game, we were the better team. I thought the decision to give a penalty kick was wrong. Having seen it back again, I think it's so soft and so harsh on us. I think we've got to come then from behind, but luckily we've still got plenty of the game to do that. And I thought we huffed and puffed first half. I thought the penalty rocked us back, set us back. I think Yusuf going off wasn't ideal as well, and we'll probably come on to that one. I think you've got to compliment Hibs in the sense that they came and they sat off us that shape. I just thought we were a wee bit pedestrian, a wee bit reluctant to try and break lines a bit quicker and try and be a wee bit more positive. And we played a bit safer than I would have hoped in the first half. The spare area, the spare man in the pitch a lot of times was Vanya, and obviously he'd been booked. And we tried Finlay on that side just to double up with Daisuke on that right-hand side. You have to say it didn't work totally. And then Finlay had a stomach bug and has to come off. He was feeling that. He was saying he felt sick. But trying Finlay there, we were trying to be positive with that change. But you have to say it didn't quite work. I mean, I thought the last 25 minutes of the game, half an hour of the game, was far more how I want Rangers to play in terms of we engaged with our strikers quicker, we got more balls in the box. We looked as if the equaliser was coming. It took a bit longer than I would have hoped because we passed up chance after chance. 76% possession, we started to actually utilise that possession with a wee bit more of a threat. and we had more penalty box action. So, but the only stat that really matters, as we know, is the fact of the scoreline. But I actually thought the intent of the team was good, and I've got to praise the players for their efforts to keep going. I thought the subs all played their part, and we could be sitting here bemoaning the fact that we've dropped a couple of points. But losing the goal, even the nature of the goal that come off the studs and trickles by Ivor, it's a blow for us, and it's we didn't deserve that. We've got to be honest.
Mark?
Yeah, that the phrase that jumped out with there, Paul, just went the tempo of the team.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something, again, I'm just going to go back to the central midfield theme. The central midfielder dictates the tempo of the team. When to penetrate, when to go on the front foot, when to kill the pace, and just ride a wee storm maybe and just keep possession, get 3 or 4 passes together. All those guys I've been speaking about tonight, all those top centre mids, that's what they do. Rangers don't have that. Rangers don't have that focal point who will dictate the tempo of their team, and that's what's badly missing.
You've got Raskan, you've got Devlin in there. They're the two who started. Asgard come on. I know a lot of Rangers fans really like Asgard. They really rate him. He did score a beautiful goal up at Tannadice against United, but I think he's too inconsistent.
Yeah.
So maybe it was a reason that Derek left him on the bench and brought in Devlin, go with Raskan. There's obviously this speculation about Raskan. Maybe he's one to generate some funds for Rangers. You can't always keep spending, and Rangers have spent a good amount of money so far.
0808 17 17 700. We're back after this. Go.
The Go Radio Football Show with Scottish Gas.
We will be much better tomorrow night because I can tell you, I'll not be here. No, I'll be here. And tomorrow night, Peter Grant is going to be here.
Oh.
Yeah. And guess who else?
Ex-Rangers player.
Correct.
Oh, striker.
Scott Brown.
Oh, very good from last week. Kevin Kyle. Big Kevin will be with us as well. The
Kevin.
Spinars finalist. He'll be here tomorrow night along with Peter Grant. Yeah, it was quite a stooshy last week, wasn't it, with Peter and with Scott
We
as
had a
well.
good laugh about it.
Yeah, did you? Yeah.
I met him last week.
Yeah.
It was good fun.
I think a lot. I mean, I think Peter did handle it well. So, listen, we live in a democracy. It's good to find out what.
Footballers,
Yeah.
managers, coaches not seeing eye to eye. It's nothing new.
Shocker, isn't it?
Show business.
Shocker. Andy, you took in Dundee Aberdeen at the weekend.
Yeah.
And I asked you about Joe Bevan. Everyone's talking about him. He made the
Yeah.
first goal, scored the second. What's the story
Yeah,
here?
it's funny
Yeah.
when you see him, being an Albion Rovers player just recently, 3-4 years ago. I saw him after the game and said hello. We're speaking about the game, and he's got a good stature about him, a good height. He played wide of a 4, and honestly, I mean, he played so I thought he was the man of the match, but the way that Aberdeen played, I was really astounded. They couldn't. Not only could they not handle him, but it seemed as though every time he got the ball, they were ignoring what had happened just a few minutes ago when he was going past 2 or 3 players. They didn't try and double up on him, and it was just the amount of clear-cut chances that Dundee created. Honestly, it could have been 5-6-0 for Dundee at half-time, and no wonder the huge Aberdeen travelling support. No wonder they were booing at the end. It was a shocking performance from them.
Mark, does the nation owe Stephen Presley a collective apology? I mean, everyone last year was thinking, I know they're saying he looks like the geography teacher and all this. Listen, he had a really good career.
Yeah.
Nobody is doubting it. And actually, he was manager at Coventry City. We know all that.
Yeah.
But, I think everyone thought, that's a funny fit. But Mike, new contract, started well. What a performance at the weekend.
Yeah, credit to him. Obviously, as you're saying there, Andy was at the game, and it was like, to go and take, potentially look as though you can beat Aberdeen by 5 or 6. Again, a huge turnover in numbers of squad. Paul have sold a couple of boys as well, lost a couple of really good players. See if Stephen Presley has another really good season, which it looks like he's heading in that direction, overcame the odds that were against him last season. He would become a Scotland job contender, Paul.
Oh, good shout.
He would. Now, a lot, he wouldn't be everybody's cup of tea because exactly what you look, and sometimes he doesn't sell us when they come. You feel like, come on, Elvis, liven yourself up a wee bit.
Yep.
But in terms of what he does, he's a real conscientious coach. He's got Scott Patterson beside him. He's innovative. He's brought in Aidan McGeady as well to come in and help, with your forward players and your wingers. So he's thinking outside the box. And I don't think he's ready to be a Scotland manager. But if he's another really good year, because I think we'd all agree, I don't know who the SFA are going to get. I have a feeling they're going to go foreign, Paul. But we don't have a queue. We don't have a queue of listen, there's a lot of good Scottish managers, but in terms of availability and people that are, ones that you could get realistically, I think we're really struggling.
And just to highlight another good point from Stephen Presley, it wasn't just Joe Bevan who was outstanding. Simon Murray led the line well. We all know what he's capable of. Charlie Riley was excellent. Ethan Hamilton, Joe Wesley, who got the first goal, should actually have had a hat-trick with the chances that he had. So there's a good number of players there. When you think that they lost Congreve at the end of the season, and he was their go-to guy to be giving them something a bit different. They seem to have a much better balance in the team now, and some really good options, even coming off the bench.
We'll come back on the Scotland thing in a moment or two, but Jim is hanging on the line in Rutherglen. Hi, Jim. Good evening.
Good evening, Paul. Good evening, Andy. Mark.
Hi, Jim.
Hi, Jim.
Jim, you'll be happy so far. 2 games down, 6 points for Celtic.
Absolutely, Paul. You wondered how it was going to be just with still waiting on the signings coming in. But yeah, so far so good. It was actually, Paul, just before my main point, if I may, it was just to wish Martin O'Neill all the best and echo the previous caller, Kevin's sentiments. I mean, I'm quite fortunate in the sense that my brother and his childhood friend have got a Celtic-leaning pub in Glasgow City Centre, and Martin's been in more than once, and not just even what he's achieved in his career. What a man, what a human being. So I just wish him well, and hopefully he's in good health very, very soon.
Brilliant.
My main point is it was really just to see what Andy and Mark's opinions would be, not just on what they would do personally, but what Ahmet Engels and Alistair Johnson might do. Because my point was, you've seen what's happened recently to Yusuf Chermiti. Again, I wish him well. I hope he's back very soon. But would they, as players, look, if reports are to be believed, they're on the verge of life-changing moves. Would they be maybe looking at that and thinking, oh dear me, look how quickly a career can be cut short? Do you think there's any percentage of them that would maybe hold back or think, no, do you know what, this is going to change my family's life? Should I play or should I just phone it in? Maybe no play at all, just to see what you guys would think.
Jim, injuries can happen at any time. They could go over on their ankle, do their cruciate at training, God forbid. But I think just as a club, you know, Celtic are very much a selling club, especially at a huge profit. I think they sell to a lot of players that come to Glasgow. Listen, we can fatten you up and sell you on the richest league, arguably the most competitive league in Europe. It's on your doorstep. You open yourself up to all those suitors. And it looks as well, Maeda is away, Alistair Johnson maybe going to Everton, Engels possibly going to West Ham. And there's another problem in itself. West Ham are in the Championship. I know they're a London club and I know they're certainly capable of giving out some really extraordinary wages, but that's a second tier of English football. But I do think players are turned on by just the competitive nature of the Premier League. And I know that up here it's great to win titles, win trophies, participate in Europe. But I do understand the draw of the English game, and I wouldn't be surprised if both of them end up down south before the end of the month.
Mark, it's a really good question though, isn't it? I hadn't quite thought of that because Engels gave it everything. He was in top form on Sunday. Alistair Johnson as well. I know he came off at half-time. A niggle. Then you're thinking, right, okay. But that's a great point. There's Chermiti. Could have gone for 20-odd million pounds. Club said no. I mean, they might have come back in. But he's now out with an ACL. Do you think that'll come into the thinking of Engels and Johnson?
No, I don't. First of all, they need to be given permission to go and speak to clubs, as in Celtic need to accept bids. Although I do believe that Alistair Johnson's personal stuff is pretty much all sorted out with Everton. It looks as if they've now turned their attention elsewhere, but they may well come back in. The window's open to September the 3rd. Fulham sniffing about, potentially Newcastle. Engels, I really like Engels, Paul. I've always championed in this programme right from the very start. I thought he's a wonderful technician, a really silky footballer. But for the life of me, I don't know why he's going to West Ham, or why that might become an option. Now the easy answer is, just as Jim's alluding to, well, it could be trebling your money, it could be going for 60 or 70 grand a week in wages. But in terms of the football, I would hold off and go to the EPA. I just don't see Engels being a championship player, that grueling 46, all those kids. So I don't think it's a great footballing choice if he decides to go there. But right now, I wouldn't be surprised if Martin O'Neill's saying to Johnston and Engels, because they're two good types. Listen, give us the next 10 days and you might want to stay. If we get into the Champions League, you might want to stay. We'll reward you if you want to stay. We'll give you an extra year and we'll fatten you up with your weekly wage. Or they might say, look, we'll let you go, but just help us get into the Champions League. And then, you'll still have 7 or 8 days to go and see what comes in for you.
Yeah. Jim, what else are you looking for to come in for Celtic? Hussein looks as though that's been done. I think that should be announced any time there's been a medical. Where else do you want? What about the goalkeeping position? Do you think you need? Well, you do need someone else to be out there and challenge Sinisalo.
Yeah, without question, Paul. With it, you want to parrot what the boys have said earlier on. Yeah. I think Greg Taylor. I think that'd probably be an easy deal to do. I think he's wanting back. Goalkeeper, yes. If Big AJ does move, have we got somebody ready as a backup? I don't know if the fans would take to Jeff Ralston or young Colby. I think the forward line's going to look frightening. I think if Big Casper can keep doing what he's doing, he's exciting us all already. And Vijaran as well. I think if he gets put up front, you're going to see some goals. So the forward line's absolutely, no problem. But everywhere else, I think there's just a little wee bit of tinkering, and hopefully we can get some over the line before the deadline.
Yeah, we'd expect. So Thursday's the deadline for Champions League. And the last thing Celtic want is to do a Kairat Almaty this time last year.
Yeah, don't take anything lightly. Don't underestimate any opponent. Get the best players in that you can, not just for the Champions League, for European football, for all the domestic challenges that await you. And You say, I don't know who said it earlier on with the amount of, I think it was Michael who phoned in and he said 14 players had gone out. I mean, Celtic still need a good number of players just to give the manager and his coaching staff good options in every area.
Champions League, what does it mean to you, Jim? I asked the Celtic fan earlier, what do you feel? There's not been, it's 2 years since you were in it. What are you thinking? Is it a real aspirations that where your club should be?
I think I've heard Peter Grant on the show before, Paul, and he's always championing it.
Yep.
I think we should, maybe a bit worried about maybe taking a few beatings if we've not been getting the quality in, but should always be aspiring to get to the top. Celtic and Rangers as well should be looking to highlight themselves and get both Glasgow clubs in there. But if we can get these guys over the line, it's exciting bringing the big boys to town, and a bit of nervousness because it could go either way. But no, I'm looking forward to it. I think Celtic should be embracing this.
There's nothing like it, Mark. And also, it's the Wednesday night, isn't it? Then so Tuesday or Wednesday.
Tuesday,
in other words,
Saturday.
you're playing the Saturday.
Yeah. Look, the Celtic fans, Martin and Neil, they deserve it. Paul, we said, Jim and other Celtic supporters, they put £40 million into their club. They pay fortunes for season tickets or executive packages, and then they'll be asked to fork out again for the Champions League package. And the beauty is, the last time Celtic were in it, Paul, they made a real fist of it. They get into the next part of it and took Bayern Munich. They pretty much the last kick of the ball. And it's kind of been in many ways, and I know Celtic won the double and they won the league that season, but that's when the problems seem to start in terms of the fans and the hierarchy. They sold Kyogo and never really replaced him, although they've been more active in this window. Obviously,
they couldn't have been any less active up front.
And we were talking about Sunday's performance, how enjoyable it was to watch Celtic hitting heights. I think the last time domestically was probably at Rugby Park when they won the league under Brendan Rodgers. Adam Ida was outstanding. I think they maybe won 5 or 6-0 that night. Prior to that, I think Jim would remember, was it Leipzig at Celtic Park in that Champions League campaign under Brendan Rodgers when they were outstanding, saying it was the best performance in the atmosphere since Celtic had beaten a French team under Martin O'Neill 20 years earlier.
Was it Nicholas Kuhn, I think?
Yeah, it might have been that. Yeah. So anyway, look, Jim's right. There's a potential you could get a couple of skeltons, a couple of real heavy ones, but you're talking about 35 to 40 million quid. You're talking about if you're going into the last 3 or 4 days of the window, Paul, and you still need 1 or 2 bits of quality, you're selling them the Champions League and everything that comes with it. So that should be the aspiration, and certainly it's got to be better than last year's effort to get there.
Andy, the European Cup, the Champions League.
Marvellous.
You've played in it.
Well, I played in it. It wasn't the league phase. We were just playing knockout ties. But I remember my first European experience. I'd signed for Motherwell. We played Borussia Dortmund. We beat them 2-1. Murdo, the great Murdo. Yeah. Murdo McLeod was playing for Dortmund that night. Came to Glasgow. We beat them 2-1. It was a great game. The atmosphere, European football, just so different. The feel of it, the expectation from the fans. But we lost the away leg 2-0. But European football is exactly what, not just the players, it really is for the supporters. It's almost a bit of a thank you for the money that they give year in, year out. And we go back to what we said earlier. I'm sure Martin O'Neill will be asking the players to give the supporters some moments, that the memories that Billy McNeil would talk about. And I think every player would be inspired by, that type of chat.
I think as well, there'll be nobody more motivated or willing to win this tie than Martin O'Neill. When he spoke about one of the main reasons he took the Celtic job for this season was he said he'd have hated sitting in the house watching another manager. He'd get jealous seeing them try to get into the Champions League. So, this will be Martin's last go to it. He said he's leaving at the end of the season. This will be his last crack at the Champions League. And if he can deliver that to Celtic at the back of what he delivered 2 or 3 months ago, then my goodness, they really should get to work on that statue.
Yeah, but looking for wave after wave. Remember, that was at the Juventus game afterwards. Remember, Jim, maybe before your time, but when it's some story in the Martin O'Neill story, isn't it? When you think about it, yeah,
absolutely tremendous. And a much loved man for all the Celtic supporters of so many different ages. Yeah, and here's hoping he's back to full health, full fitness soon.
And Jim, that was good what you said about Chermiti as well as O'Neill Youssef. Chermiti, we hope he is back soon for Rangers. Jim, thanks a million. Thanks for your call.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Cheers,
you.
Jim.
0808
Cheers, Jim.
1717 700. Who's going to be the next Scotland manager? Next.
The Go Radio Football Show with Scottish Gas.
Who is going to be the next Scotland manager? Stevie Clarke has gone after we exited from the World Cup. I see somebody that I think we all respect massively, Archie McPherson, who is, well, the doyen of Scottish broadcasters, isn't he? He was saying, look, and it didn't give him any pleasure to say so, he thinks it's been the poorest performance of a Scotland team at a World Cup.
Yeah, I've spoken to Archie a number of times, and he's been inspired by all these, Germany, Argentina, going to Spain, seen Scotland at so many tournaments in a bygone era. To be fair to Steve Clarke, we've got back to that actually qualifying, but we haven't looked like ourselves when we get to, the tournament itself. I've no idea who's going to take over this manager role. I don't think it will be Stephen Naismith. He doesn't seem to have the experience. I listened to his interview recently where he said he thought it was maybe for a more experienced guy. I take Mark's point that with no outstanding Scottish candidate available, maybe they will opt for a foreign manager, a foreign coach.
Can you see it? I mean, obviously Tuchel, I was going to say, has done well with England. Half of England thinks he doesn't, but he took them to the semi-final. Mark, you mentioned Darren Fletcher a few weeks ago, and I thought, yeah, I mean, he managed Man United, albeit in a short period, but it's Man United. Stephen Naismith, though, has moved up in the bookies chart. I think yesterday he was the favourite.
I think the Danish guy, Højlund, Danish manager who went to, was it Leverkusen for a short spell? I think he might be in contention. Ronald Koeman might be in contention. Out with that, is there a Scotsman, not Dan Fletcher, I think would top that list in terms of guys that, okay, if you want to go down the road like Wales went down, giving Craig Bellamy a shot, giving, Ryan Giggs a shot, then, Dan Fletcher would be as good as anybody if you want to go down that road. Or do you say to Stephen A. Smith with a more experienced number 2 beside him, you've got it interim, let's see who becomes available in the next 12 months. Would Davy Moyes become available? He's in the final year of his contract at Everton. Or would Davy Moyes be the next manager of Celtic after Martin O'Neill next summer? Although I believe Kieran McKenna, that switch manager, is very, very strongly in contention for that. So I don't know. That's what Ian Maxwell and Mike Mulroney and the new chief footballing officer Craig Mulholland, they'll need to come up with a really good short list. I'm sure they have. I'm sure they've already spoken to a couple of people as well. So I really think it's really up to them. They think, you know what, it's of immediate concern to get a full-time guy in there and let's go with it ahead of Euro 2028, or we're happy just to let things go as they are until the turn of the year and then review things. That's up to them, depending on what candidates are available.
We've had a right good group over the last few years, obviously highlighted by Andy Robertson, John McGinn, people of that stature winning, European trophies for their respective clubs. They're all getting on a wee bit more. Obviously, Scott McTominay, Billy Gilmour doing some great things in Italy, but we do need the next generation of player to come through and maybe give us something that we've been missing at these tournaments in the last number of years.
I see that Robbie Ewer, a name that most people wouldn't know, he was at Rangers a few years ago, then he went to Anderlecht, wasn't it? And he's now about to go to Seville for £8 million, Mark. And he has dual nationality, but it would be great if he did play for Scotland. So we're looking out for that. But you don't see that too often, a young player coming right through.
And again, if you're at Rangers, Paul, you've got to be questioning, who was in charge at that time? Why was he not given a proper go? I think he might have had 1 or 2 top team appearances, but, was he being championed enough by the youth department? Were the first team staff willing to entertain that? Because can he be doing that? And now when they're talking about a game being in crisis and not enough guys getting a chance, then what are they missing? What are they not identifying in a boy like that when you've got him under your nose day in, day out?
Stephen Presley, you mentioned earlier on, Alex has been on saying that's a good left field shout, Andy. He thinks he could do well for Scotland.
I think he's more committed to club football. I think he's really enjoying it. I think it's taken him a bit of time to put his stamp on this Dundee team and being so impressed with the way they played. I think the challenge for Stephen Presley is to get Dundee to do what Hearts, Hibs, Motherwell, have Kilmarnock done it in recent years. Can you get Dundee into the top 6? Can you get them challenging for Europe? Because so often they are in and around the relegation places in the top flight. And I think that would probably be much more of, feed his ego, feed his energy than maybe going to the national job.
Paul, I'm going to throw another there, and I'm not going to say it just because he's a colleague. Why shouldn't he be in the conversation? Barry Ferguson, has he been spoken about? Have you spoken about him on the show?
I threw it in last night because he was one of the, I think, 4th favourite. So I said, and I was watching his face to see the reaction. I didn't get the impression he'd spoken to, but Barry is one of the ones who's been mentioned.
So I really feel for Barry in terms of what he managed to do at Rangers during that 3-month period. Okay, it wasn't perfect, but he showed enough, as I said, to get a crack at the job. A couple of really good results in Europe, going to Celtic Park and winning. I thought, he's put in the hard yards. Despite he was a top player, a top player, but he was willing to put in the hard yards at part-time football to go and earn these stripes. He got a crack at Rangers, and I think it ended too soon. I think Rangers made a mistake not giving him the job. But when we're talking about young, Barry's young, but you know what I mean, in terms of Scottish candidates,
he's still in his 40s, young man. Yep.
Should he be in the conversation? Yeah. He's worked with Michael Rainey, the SFA president, who was his chairman at Alloa. Yeah. Why not? Why are you not looking to have, and maybe he is, to have somebody like that in the conversation?
I see Rangers are apparently looking at James Penrice, who would like to come back to Scotland. I think AEK Athens, they want a permanent transfer. There's chat of a loan move. Now, he's somebody I think I threw at Barry last year. just after he didn't get the job permanently, when we talked about Vaclav Cherny, Lawrence Shankland, Josh Mulligan. I think he was on his radar as well. And I was reading yesterday people saying, hey, Josh Mulligan, what a good player for Hibs. He could have been at Rangers. So Penrice, you see him coming back maybe?
Well, I think he's still got a lot to offer wherever he ends up playing his football, and if that's a target for Rangers, I think it's a good one. He knows Scottish football well. I think he's a decent defender, but he's also he's got that style where he can get himself forward and be a creative player in that last third.
He's got a good CV. So Partick Thistle, Livy, Hearts, he's worked his way up and been consistent at every level.
What about Diamondi, 24-year-old? He's gone to Istanbul for a medical ahead of moving to Coram. So look out for that word coming on it. This is what Derek McInnes said on Sunday evening about it.
I don't know whether, I think there may be some conversations going on about that, but I don't know if there's been an official bid or anything like that. Nothing I can really comment on it, to be honest.
And I see a French article here, which I think I'm translating properly. Hugo Sique, he's a fullback. Rangers interested in the Belgium and the Club Bruges right back. Mark, it's this time of the year. Some of it will be true, some of it might come to pass, and some of it will be tosh.
Yeah, Diamondi pretty much getting the money back. You know, he's another one that was touted as being a £15 million player a couple of years ago, and that's where, you know, you've got to turn that kind of speculation into reality, and that's what Rangers need to try and master, Paul. They've not done it over the last couple of years. Last couple of big sales were under Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, Calvin Bassey, and
Aribo.
Aribo stuff. So they've got to go and find that model again, because every day you pick up the papers and a Rangers player's been valued at 20-25 million after half dozen good games. No. You've got to have substance, you've got to do it over a season, you've got to do it at the highest level and show you're a winner, and then you become that kind of player. And it's just unfortunate they've probably missed out on that money for Chermiti, but they need to improve, Rangers, as a football club, as a business, in their player trading.
Jackie's on saying to you, Andy, it's a big derby Friday night, the League Cup, Premier Sports Cup. Kilmarnock against Ayr United. Memories of you playing in that game?
Yeah, towards the end of my career, I really enjoyed a season at Ayr United. I was hoping to stay a bit longer, but it wasn't to be. And obviously the highlight, and any time, honestly, I'm down in Ayrshire Way, the amount of people that bring up that day, that event, who they were with, what family member they were with, it tells you that it's one of the great derbies in Scottish football. So yeah, very much looking forward to it. And Ayr I've got a chance under new guidance now. And I'd love to see them win again.
Mark, I saw Ayr United play Rangers in the Cup, and Andy was playing up against Barry Ferguson. What a crowd. The place was absolutely, it was full.
I think Giovanni Van Bronckhorst played that night. I think he scored. They beat us 2-0. But Craig Moore was playing, and all I remember is cementing him that night, and he wasn't happy.
He'll be back soon. I don't know where he is. He's most travelled, isn't he? So Motherwell in action this week as well, your old team. Hopefully the will do well. Hibs in action as
Motherwell at Stenhousemuir, and just the way that, I mean, a bit of a surprise at the weekend to get the draw against Falkirk, especially at home. But Motherwell are just so entertaining. Great to watch.
I was also thinking about Europe as well. But yeah, you took us an amazing run there in the league. I started it. There's some great games. Hibs, Partick Thistle. We'll talk about it tomorrow and Thursday. But the European games coming. Hibs in action, Motherwell in action, and Hearts as well. Of course, that's over there. What about Rangers then? What's your feeling then? 2-1 down.
Yeah. I think there's enough evidence from the first leg to suggest they can go and do it. But the kind of problem is that there's going to be a bit of anxiety in the stadium, Paul, from the stands and with Derek and the players, just because of the way results have gone in the past three. But at some point, they will turn the corner. There is no doubt about that. Thursday night's got to be the starting point, Paul. Derek really can't afford to be knocked out of the Europe on Thursday night.
Scoreline, what do you think?
3-1 Rangers after extra time.
Andy, what do you feel?
That's exactly what I had in mind, and I think it's a bit of a worry that Rangers have to score 3 because they are a team that look like conceding goals, conceding too many big chances.
Let's hope they go through. Thank you. That's it. Time's up. Joe Kildare is waiting next door. Back tomorrow night at 5.